Right, welcome to the second part of my Camino Aragones video series. I've got to say, this is the first day of my walking so far, and the views behind me are absolutely spectacular. Couldn't be happier with the day's walk, and I'm going to explain to you now a few Q&A points, followed by the route I took today, and finish off with a little bit of advice. So first of all, was the route well signposted? The answer to that question is absolutely yes. You have exactly the same types of signage as you do on the main Frances route. Those blue and yellow large signs, as well as hundreds of other small yellow way markers. I didn't have any problems today at all finding the route and keeping to it. Bumped into plenty of pilgrims along the way also, which is another thing that people like to ask the question, are there many pilgrims on the Aragones? Well, I'm doing it in September, probably one of the more popular times, and I ran into between 10 and 15 other pilgrims today, so plenty of people to talk to from all over the world. Was it well provisioned? Absolutely, no problems whatsoever getting drinks or food. However, it's not quite the same as the Frances. The Frances has towns, villages and cities ever present with food trucks, cafes, all manner of different stops along the way. This isn't the same as that, but you just have to be a little bit more thoughtful about when you get things. Stopped in 3 main small villages stroke towns today. Each of them had a bar, a restaurant. Coming by to get a drink, a coffee, an Aquarius, a beer and a bite to eat wasn't a problem at all. Was it enjoyable? Absolutely, it really was. This is up there for me with any of the days when I walked the original Camino Frances route, which I very much enjoyed. The reason for that is the initial slope down from Jaca, walking towards Santa Cecilia. It's a gradual decline, lovely views as you're coming out of town, and then you're walking towards the Rio Aragon, which runs through the entire valley on the majority of the actual Camino Aragon itself. So, were there any negatives today? Not really. I suppose the one area of criticism you could say is that for about 2 kilometers of the entire 25k route, you were walking alongside road. But having said that, there was a proper footpath next to that road. You weren't physically on the road itself, and the majority of the time was spent in either woodland, on well-marked paths, or in forests, and then finally an uphill incline into Arreś. So just to quickly break down the route for today, first of all, Jaca to Santa Cecilia was about 15.5k. So make sure you pack enough water because there's nothing in between the two. I packed 2 litres of water and had a couple of drinks along the way once I reached the various towns. That was perfectly adequate for the day's walk. I am walking in September. It is about 25 degrees. You'd probably need more than that if you were walking in midsummer. But the most popular times to walk Caminos in general are earlier on in the year, in the April-May periods, or later on in the year in the September period. So you should be fine. Secondly, Santa Cecilia to Puente Llerena de Jaca, it was 6k. Stopped for a bit of lunch in Santa Cecilia, got something at the bakery, had a drink, and then moved on to Puente Llerena. Again, light provisions there, but absolutely fine. Small villages. And finally, Puente Llerena to Arreś. This was the shortest part of the walk, but it was actually the hardest part. So it was 3.5 kilometers, but most of that is on an uphill. You're ascending about 200 meters in the space, as I say, of 3.5k. So that leads to some quite steep inclines at times, but nothing that anyone with a decent degree of fitness wouldn't be able to handle. It's certainly nothing like the ascent from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port to Roncesvalles on the first day of the Camino Frances. So that takes us to a total of 25 kilometers for the day. Final bits of advice then. So footwear, I personally choose to walk in trainers. A lot of people will disagree with that decision. They have proper ankle support, they wear hiking boots, they wear, you know, really quite expensive walking footwear. My feet, maybe I'm just lucky, but I don't have any problems generally with blisters, and trainers are very lightweight. And on these Camino routes, I'm not saying all, but they are generally fairly flat and fairly easy on the feet, so I prefer walking in trainers. Hiking poles, would they have been needed today? I don't use them. Saw plenty of pilgrims today who did use them. The majority of the route was flat, other than the ascent into Arreś. Would they have helped? Yeah, sure, if you're a little unfirm underfoot, I'm sure they help some people. I personally don't use them, and I didn't need them. The weather at this time of year is generally beautiful in Spain, between 25 and 30 degrees most days, perfect for walking. Just make sure you cover yourself adequately during the hotter periods of the day, so from say midday through till 3-4 in the afternoon, when the Spaniards are normally having their siestas. Lastly then, the pilgrim hostel itself, run by volunteers, hospitaleros. They couldn't have helped more. Brilliant checking you in, very basic hostel. I think it's only got room for 12 people, but there is a private hostel as well, which accommodates another 20 people and seconds as a bar and restaurant. Overall, the views around Arreś, where I am now, are absolutely gorgeous. 360 degrees all around the village. There is a pilgrim's dinner, which I'm just checking my watch because it's about to start in around half an hour. So I'm going to wrap up the filming now, go back to the hostel and enjoy myself. If you took anything away from this video, please consider a donation to the Teenage Cancer Trust. It's a really well-run charity out of the UK, and it helps an awful lot of people every single year. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe. And lastly, if you have any questions whatsoever about this part of the route or the Camino Aragones in general, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Thank you very much.